For Comedy Hype News, I'm Elena Williams. Comedians put so much into the craft of stand-up comedy. They tell their entire lives on stage and leave it all out on the floor each and every night. The level of difficulty it takes to pull off a successful performance can be underestimated. We love the authenticity, the originality, the relatability, and of course, the jokes of a great comic. So when a comedian passes off someone else's jokes as their own, it's easy to understand the betrayal a comedian would feel when one of their own has been stealing jokes from their peers. A comedian stealing another comedian's jokes is considered to be the biggest sin one could commit as a comedian. Unfortunately, the shame and disgrace that comes your way if you're caught stealing jokes isn't enough to stop others from doing so. Look at the story of Carlos Mencia, for example. Carlos Mencia became one of the most popular comedians in America when his Comedy Central show hit airwaves in the mid-2000s. Mencia became a crowd favorite among audiences. Ironically, at the same time, he was the most hated comedian to his peers. But comedians around the world resented Mencia and accused him of taking jokes from both widely known and underground comedians. The rumors of stealing came to a peak when comedian Joe Rogan got on stage and confronted Mencia about the accusations. Since the incident, Mencia has slowly fallen out of the Hollywood spotlight and hasn't been seen in the mainstream stage in over a decade. Here's why Carlos Mencia disappeared. Mencia began performing stand-up comedy in the late 80s, starting at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, then later the Comedy Store. Mencia worked his way up, making appearances on An Evening at the Improv, The Arsenio Hall Show, and Comic Relief, all in the early 90s. In addition to this, Mencia's acting career began to take off, guest starring in episodes of In Living Color, Moesha, and The Bernie Mac Show. Mencia also provided the voice of Felix Boulevardes as a recurring character on The Proud Family. Mencia performed half-hour stand-up sets on HBO's Comedy Half Hour and Comedy Central Presents. It was his Comedy Central set where he was given the opportunity to host his own sketch comedy show on that same network. At the time, Comedy Central and all of America were just coming to terms with the fact that Dave Chappelle's show would not be returning for a third season. Despite the tough news, Comedy Central felt that they had landed on a gold mine with the sketch comedy show format. When they lost Dave, they decided to take that same format, apply it to several comedians, and attempt to recreate the same success. Carlos Mencia, Demetri Martin, Nick Swardson, Key and Peele, and Amy Schumer were all given their own sketch comedy shows that followed the same formula Dave Chappelle brought to Comedy Central. Some were successful, but most were forgettable. Mind of Mencia debuted in July 2005 to decent ratings, but the second season, ratings continued to climb, and the series became one of the network's highest-rated programs, earning both a third and fourth season. Although Mind of Mencia was successful for a period of time and received good ratings, the series would never hit the heights or become the cultural phenomenon that Chappelle's show was. In September 2005, as the first season of Mind of Mencia was wrapping up, comedian Joe Rogan wrote a post on his website accusing Carlos Mencia of plagiarism. Rogan started his post off by declaring his love for stand-up comedy, the difficulty it takes to pull off a funny performance, and his disdain for those who pass other comedians' jokes as their own. He told the story of when he found out comedian Dennis Leary stole jokes, then switched his focus towards Mencia. The latest and most disgusting joke thief of all is a guy named Carlos Mencia. The really crazy thing is that's not even his real name. He sells himself as being Mexican, but the reality is his real name is Ned Holness, and he's actually half German and half Honduran. The Mexican hook is something he did to integrate himself with the local Mexican population of LA, where he started. The reason why Rogan wrote the letter was in response to Mencia going on a local radio station to address several joke-stealing accusations made about him. Mencia's response was everyone was jealous of him. This promoted Rogan to call Mencia a f***ing weak-minded delusional joke thief. Rogan continued on in his letter. "I've seen you steal over and over again. I've seen you steal from Paul Mooney. I've seen you steal from Dave Chappelle. I've seen you steal from old Richard Pryor albums. I've seen you steal from Jeff f***ing Foxworthy. Your mind is weak. Keep talking shit, fat boy. I'll keep exposing you. If you really love comedy, stop supporting joke thieves." In 2006, George Lopez appeared as a guest on The Howard Stern Show and revealed that the 13 minutes of his act was stolen by Mencia and used in his HBO special. Ari Shaffir is another comedian who accused Mencia of stealing his jokes when he opened up for Mencia on the road. According to sources, Mencia denies claims of stealing from Lopez. Mencia stated that Lopez is jealous of him and doesn't want another Latino comedian to succeed. So Lopez created the accusations to stall his career. However, Rogan and Shaffir, who aren't Latino, have also criticized Mencia of stealing jokes. Are they jealous of him too? In the interview, Lopez claims that he got into a physical altercation with Mencia over the jokes. Rogan even went so far as to create a compilation video of Mencia performing the jokes that he's taken from other comedians. The video has since been deleted, but there are several other fan-made compilations of Mencia performing jokes similar to other comedians. In addition to Lopez, Mencia was also accused of stealing from Bill Cosby. In 1983, Cosby released his famous stand-up film, Bill Cosby Himself, where he talks about teaching his son how to play football, only for the son to score a touchdown and thank his mom on national TV.
Come here, boy. 2 years old, you say, get down. Dad show you how to do it. Now, you come at me. Run through me. There, see? Get back up. Get back up. Soon he's bigger and he's stronger and he can hit you and you don't want him to hit you anymore. You say, all right, son, turn him loose on high school. And he's running up and down the field. High school, touchdown. Yes, that's my son. And he goes to a big college playing for a big school, 3 million students and 800,000 people in the stand for a TD, and turn around and the camera's on him and you're looking and he says, hi, Mom.
He gives him a football and he shows him how to pass it. He shows him every day how to pass that football, how to 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop. He shows him how to throw the bomb, how to throw the out, how to throw the hook, how to throw the corner. He even moves from one city to the other so that kid could be in a better high school. Then that kid goes to college. And that man is still, every single game that dad is right there. 5 years later, he ends up in the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. He gets the MVP of the Super Bowl. And when the cameras come up to him and say, you got anything to say to the camera? I love you, Mom. Ah!
According to an article in the Los Angeles Times, Mencia said it made him uncomfortable when he saw the Cosby video. I had never seen Bill Cosby tell that joke until after my special. I wish I had seen Cosby tell it, because if I had, I would have found another way of making my point, since the joke was part of a much larger premise that I had been doing for years about women raising children. Mencia's reputation as a joke stealer would come to a peak in 2007 at the Comedy Store, where Joe Rogan would interrupt Mencia's set, walk on stage, and publicly chastise Mencia for stealing jokes. No one in the industry had seen anything like this before. In the video, Rogan and Mencia went back and forth about the accusations. Rogan even brought out Ari Shaffir to confirm what joke was stolen. The joke in question revolved around building a wall around the Mexican border.
He wants to build a new wall all down the California-Mexico border so no Mexicans get in. But I'm like, dude, Arnold, who do you think is going to build that wall?
Then we build a super fence so they can't get back in. And I went, who's gonna build it?
Throughout the confrontation, Mencia continues to deny that he did anything wrong. At first, the audience seems to be divided, with some supporting Mencia and the other half supporting Rogan. It doesn't take long for the audience to realize what exactly is going on and join Rogan's side.
Good performer. You do very well with other people's shit.
I do well with my shit.
You by the way, Joe?
No, I've never stolen
George Lopez didn't grab you by your fucking neck and slam you up against the left back of the wall for ripping off his shit in your HBO special?
He did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Unfortunately for Rogan, the incident got him banned from the Comedy Store for 2 years, and he lost his agent. Despite this, many comedians appreciated that Rogan risked his career to stand up for all comedians and speak up. Mind of Mencia ended the following year on Comedy Central. It's unclear if the accusations towards Mencia are what resulted in the show's ending, but they definitely didn't help. In 2010, Mencia appeared in the Showtime documentary, I Am Comic, which details the life of a working stand-up comedian. In a segment, Mencia tried to double down on his joke-stealing accusations in a funny way. The only problem was, the way Mencia approached the situation wasn't funny. Mencia's role in the documentary further tarnished his name in comedy and made him a figure that no one wanted to be associated with. In a 2019 podcast interview, Mencia revealed that he had to go to therapy due to the famous Comedy Store incident with Joe Rogan. Since the ending of his Comedy Central show, Mencia has continued to perform stand-up comedy all over the country. In 2011, he released a stand-up special, Carlos Mencia, New Territory. The special received mixed reviews and was here today and gone tomorrow. Many made note of the drastic weight loss of Mencia. After being absent from the spotlight for nearly a decade, Mencia has appeared on a few podcasts, most notably the Check It Toe podcast and Bobby Lee's Tiger Belly and Finally. Bobby Lee was one of Mencia's victims in the past. In the podcast, which was released in 2021, Mencia maintains his innocence and denies that he purposely took jokes from other comedians. He states that he would like to apologize, but whenever he calls a comedian to ask what jokes he's stolen from them, they deny that Carlos took their joke. This prompted Mencia to come to the conclusion that comedians aren't mad about his accusations, but are instead upset that Mencia used to bump other comedians and run the light. When Rogan got on stage with Mencia at the Comedy Store in 2007, Mencia was the more popular comedian and had all the leverage. Since then, the roles have reversed, and Rogan now has the most popular podcast in media, while Mencia continues to tour comedy clubs around the country. Rogan will sometimes reflect on the experience on his own podcast, where he wishes Carlos well and has hope he learns something from it. The topic of joke stealing seems to have gained traction over the past few weeks, with several comedians coming forward telling their stories of how their work was taken from them. With the introduction of social media and the internet, one would think that this wouldn't be such a common occurrence, but that hasn't been the case. Let's hope that more comedians like Rogan aren't afraid to take a stand in order to protect the art that is stand-up comedy. Stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel, follow Comedy Hype across all social media, and look out for our streaming service with brand new original content on comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Elena Williams.